Item 1 is a public hearing for Jiffy Lube Minor Vehicle Service Special Land Use. A request from the applicant Jiffy Lube International, Inc. on behalf of owner Meyer, Inc. to construct a minor vehicle service use along with related site improvements. The proposed plus or minus 3,064 square foot single-story building is located on the south side of Tyler Road, east of Belleville Road, on a proposed approximately 0.71 out parcel to be divided and created from portions of the 39.4 acre parcel located at 9701 Belleville Road. That is parcel number 83-05899-0006705, and a vacant 1.33 acre parcel number 83-05899-0006707. The property is zoned C2, Extensive Highway Business District, and is also in the Belleville Road Overlay District. Minor vehicle service developments are a special land use in the C2 district. The proposed special land use requires a public hearing, and this hearing is being held in accordance with Article 12, Chapter 3 of the Zoning Ordinance Administrative Procedure and Special Land Use Review. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
Then thank you. I'm sorry, who supported?
Me.
Mrs. Boynton. And a roll call vote, please.
Ryan Kelly,
Yes.
Medina Atchison,
Yes.
Sherry Budd,
Yes.
Donald Boynton,
Yes.
Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Joan Franzoy,
Yes.
Carol Thompson.
Thank you. So the public hearing is now open, and we will be happy to hear comments from the public on this agenda item. We'd ask you to tell us your name and address, and if you would keep your comments specific to the special land use hearing that is the subject of this public hearing, there'll be a chance to speak on other agenda items later on in the meeting. Director Powers, do you have an introduction for us?
I can give a brief introduction, just to say that we have a project here that is a minor vehicle service land use with just over 3,000 square foot building on a roughly 0.7 acre outlot of the Meyer store on Belleville and Tyler Road. This is a special land use in the zoning district that we referred to, which is C2, which requires a series of general special land use standards as well as specific standards to the minor vehicle service use, which our principal planner will go over during her presentation. The applicant is here in attendance tonight to talk about the use. I will, at this time, I'll give a broad overview, and then for the new business items, I can give more of a chance for the applicant to present and our planning consultant and township engineer to go over their reports as well. But just to kind of orient everybody, I will have a image on the screen when the applicant presents, as well as a site plan on the screen when our planning consultant and township engineer present. But just to broadly orient people to where this site is, we are in a part of the township that where the Meyer store is, and basically everywhere south of there on Belleville Road to the I-94 is in what's called the Belleville Road Overlay District, and in a specific section of that overlay district, which is called the Core Commercial Sub Area. So this is an area where you're going to have retail and service uses, some of which, like this one, are still going to be fairly automotive dependent or automotive oriented, but through the overlay district standards, you're going to see extra design treatments and architectural treatments and landscaping that applies to sites in this district. So there's been a lot of detailed review of this plan, and it's sort of a clearly automotive focused use, but with design elements that are at a human scale. And you'll see staff comments on those design features per the zoning ordinance. The principal planner and the township engineer will go over a lot of the other details in their reports. So at this time, I would just offer that the public can make comments on this. And I do see that there is The Zoom link is on the website, and there's information about how to join the meeting. So hopefully folks have been able to get the information and access the meeting. I do see that we have, at least as of right now, technical glitch with the YouTube stream, but this will be posted to YouTube and it is being recorded. So we'll keep monitoring that. But the folks who saw the notice and who saw this on our website should be able to get to the link and join our Zoom meeting if they have any comments. So with no further ado, I will stop my comments there and open it up for public comments.
Thanks, Director Powers. Anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this agenda item?
Currently, there are no hands raised and nothing in the chat.
Okay. Since we get to continue talking about this agenda item when we get into new business, the next part of our agenda, and there's no one to speak to the public hearing, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
Support.
Commissioner Kelly, Commissioner Bennett, and a roll call vote, please.
Sherry Budd, Medina Ashenson,
Yes.
Brian Kelly,
Yes.
Donald Boynton,
Yes.
Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Joan Franzoy,
Yes.
Carol Thompson.
Yes, thank you. So moving right into the new business, the first item is the special land use for Jiffy Lube minor vehicle service. The request from the applicant, Jiffy Lube International, Inc., on behalf of the owner, Meyer, Inc., to construct a minor vehicle service along with related site improvements. The same description and parcel as we went through for the public hearing. Note that the property is zone C2, extensive highway business, and also it is in the Belleville Road Overlay District. We'll start first with presentation from staff and let me double check. Director Powers, are you gonna start or you want me to have the applicant make their presentation first?
Now that there's been a overview, we can have the applicant make their presentation, and which is something that it's just a minor change to the lists under this item in this agenda. But let's have the applicant go ahead and make their presentation. We'll have, after they present and give an overview of their project, we'll have the special land use portion of the project reviewed by our principal planner, and then we will move into the second new business item, which is the preliminary site plan, which if the applicant has any other comments in that part, they can speak again, but otherwise we can just go right to our planner and our township engineer. So at this time, we will share an image that they shared with us earlier and they can go over their project. And we have Mr. Kratz here representing Jiffy Lube and the development group that's kind of built their project. Just quickly before I bring it over to Mr. Kratz, I just had another update that the YouTube is live streaming now, so that's all set.
Great.
I will share
Thanks
this.
so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Kratz, what do you have to share with us this evening?
Okay, my name is Tim Krutz. I'm with 7 Multi-Site Solutions. We are agent for Jiffy Lube, also their civil engineers and permitting team. My address is 37704 Hills Tech Drive, Farmington Hills, Michigan. What we'd like to share with you here is, as Dan mentioned, it's a proposed Jiffy Lube service center in a Meyer outlot. It's just east of the Meyer Fuel Center that's on the corner of Belleville Road and Tyler. Real briefly, a history of kind of the program. Jiffy Lube is a subsidiary of Royal Dutch Shell. They have 2,200 franchise locations across the country, and they are much like Shell or some of these other very large oil companies. They're very risk averse, sensitive to environmental concerns and things that deal with car service and gas service and basically the nature of this offering as a auto service center. The term minor service center, as it's referred to in your ordinance, is very appropriate for what we are proposing. The Jiffy Lubes themselves are meant for quick service. Previously, back in the old days, that Jiffy Lube was literally just in and out oil service. That was the idea of them. Now this is part of a multi-care program where they will offer an extended service, but really the general idea is that all the service they offer is, 30 minutes to 2 hours max. Get people in and out. Generally, the people that utilize the service, they will pull up to a bay. A Jiffy Lube employee will come out, get their order, get into their car, pull their car into the bay while the customer waits in the waiting room. Then Jiffy Lube will do the service, and then from there they pull out of the bay, park just outside of the bay, and the customer can then leave the waiting area, enter back into their car, and leave the site. Typical services offered include oil changes, battery replacement, brakes, exterior glass, filters, fluids, inspections. Again, quick service type quick service type offering. Generally, they are looking at 50 to 60 cars a day, so it's not really a huge traffic generator. Really, the idea here is that we're working with Meyer, finding locations that tie into their service. Since Meyer does not have automotive service themselves, it's just kind of an unofficial partnership to utilize some of these open lots Meyer has in the area. The first one of these locations in the past 18 years that was built just opened in Lenox Township, Michigan. It is all part of this multi-care program that's going to be a preferred franchisee. So you'll have one national franchisee that's operating all of these locations. And the idea is you can kind of offer a very uniform service from one location to the other. I think with that, I probably will go just very briefly into some of the site characteristics, because I know that Dan and Vidya have done very extensive reports, and we'll probably go through a lot of that. And then Dan, if that's okay, I can just kind of support anything after the conclusion of that, the reading of those reports. We have worked with staff through several iterations, as was noted that this is in the overlay district. So we're maintaining the architectural standards and some of the site standards with the landscaping and the setbacks. And you can see these very large mature trees in the front. Those are along Tyler Road, making the efforts we can to maintain as much of that natural existing vegetation as possible. Actually, we've relocated the building so we can keep all those trees. And really, we feel like we've come with a pretty solid plan that minimizes disturbance, maintains the natural features of the site, and can provide a service that we think really fits in well with the rest of the site here.
Great. Thanks so much, Mr. Kreutz. That's a great overview. I think we will hear the reports from our planners and consultants and engineers. And then maybe if there are questions or other items you want to add, you can speak up at that point. All right, let's go to McKenna and Associates. Ms. Krishnan, you want to walk us through the special land use, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the applicant and Director Powers summarized, the proposal is to construct a 3,064 square foot building for light automotive service repairs, including oil change, replacement, replenishment of lubricants, replacement of light bulbs, tire service, and battery testing. This use is considered as minor vehicle service, and it is permitted as a special land use in the C2 Extensive Highway Business District, where the site is located as an outlot to Meyer. The zoning ordinance has general standards that are applicable to every special land use, and then specific standards that relates to the use in question over here, which is the minor vehicle service. I'll go over the general standards in brief first. The first standard is, will it promote the use of land in a socially and economically desirable manner? As you mentioned, the site is currently vacant and is located at the entrance to the main commercial area within the township. It is located next to a gas station and other commercial enterprises, including a vehicle dealership further south on Belleville Road. Now, this development will serve as an automotive service center for the residents of the community and will promote the use of land in a socially and economically desirable manner as is planned for this area. Any impacts that are caused by this development are addressed through landscaping, screening, and other site design items, which I shall review in my site plan review letter further in the meeting. The second criteria, is it necessary for public convenience at the location? The site is located right off Tyler Road in close proximity to Belleville Road, making it easy to access for the public. It is also part of the Belleville Road Overlay District, which is the main commercial hub for the township. Is it compatible with adjacent uses of land? As I mentioned, this is the main commercial hub, and down on Belleville Road, we have multiple automotive related businesses such as O'Reilly's, Waterworks Auto Wash, the Meyer gas station, the Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center. They're all located along this corridor, which are in the same class of automotive businesses as the proposed use. So we would say that it is compatible with the other uses in the district. Is it designed, located, and operated to protect public health, safety, and welfare? We believe the improvements to the site with regard to landscaping and pedestrian circulation and automotive circulation that is being proposed will address this standard and will be done in the interest of public health, safety, and welfare. We do not anticipate that the site plan will affect the township's current public service capacity. The applicant is working with the township engineer and with Wayne County in order to meet all of the utility needs and the stormwater detention needs of the site. The proposed site improvements are not likely to cause injury to any other properties. As I mentioned, it is a commercial use located in the midst of another commercial corridor, which is surrounded by heavy intensity uses, which is characteristic of the C2 Highway Business District. The Jiffy Lube is within the provisions that require special land use approval, and it is in harmony with the purpose and conforms to the applicable regulations of the C2 zoning district. As a part of this proposal, no trees are proposed to be removed. The applicant is going to be complying with the landscape requirements of our zoning ordinance. So there will be additional greenery added to the site. And finally, the proposed vehicle service use is related to the valid exercise of the township's police power and the purposes that are affected by this use. These are the general standards for a special land use. In addition to this, our zoning ordinance has two specific criteria under section 5.141 for minor vehicle service uses. And those are as follows: that service stations and commercial garages shall be located at least 500 feet from any entrance or exit to a lot on which a public, parochial, or private school or a playground, playfield, or park is located. The standard has been met. The nearest school to this site is at a significant distance, and the closest park would be the Herati Memorial Park, which is approximately 1,200 feet southwest of the subject site. The second criteria is that the minimum frontage on any one public street shall be at least 150 feet. Now, the original plan the applicant had brought before us did not meet this requirement. Since then, they have submitted a new lot split application, which shows that they shall meet the 150-foot frontage requirement. Based upon our review of this proposal, we believe the proposed use meets the general and the specific standards for a special land use. Therefore, we recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the special land use to the Township Board of Trustees, subject to site plan approval. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Krishnan. Questions or comments from the commission? Anyone? On special land use? Anyone in the audience? I cut someone off.
I just have one comment that procedurally, the step at this point, special land uses, which I forgot to mention, is require action by the township board. So the action at this point would be, if you deliberate and you agree, you would recommend special land use approval to the township board. The preliminary site plan, on the other hand, does not technically require that. It just requires approval by the planning commission. So just to clarify, this special land use request would next go to the township board if you recommend it.
Great. Thanks for the clarification. Check again. Any commissioners, questions or comments on the special land use? We have a recommendation from our consultants. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Boynton?
I move that we grant to Jiffy Lube Minor Vehicle Service a special land use for the establishment of a Jiffy Lube minor vehicle service use along with related site improvements at the previously mentioned location along pursuant to the letter submitted by McKenna dated October 27th of 2020 as a recommendation to the Township Board.
Great. Thanks. Commissioner Boynton, is there support?
Support.
Support.
Or Atkinson support? Any discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Medina Atchison,
Yes.
Sherry Budd,
yes,
Brian Kelly,
Yes.
Donald Boynton,
Yes.
Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Joan Franzoy.
Yeah.
Carol Thompson.
Yes. So that motion passes. The recommendation goes now to the Township Board, Mr. Kreutz. And we will move on to item 2, which is the preliminary site plan for the Jiffy Lube minor vehicle service. The request from Jiffy Lube International on behalf of owner Meyer Inc. to construct the minor vehicle service use along with related site improvements, approximately 3,064 square foot, single-story building located on the south side of Tyler Road and east of Belleville Road. Same parcel numbers as in the public hearing and in the special land use agenda item. And note that the property is zone C2, extensive highway business district, and also in the Belleville Road overlay district. So we'll go to, let me guess. I'm going to say we're going to go directly to McKenna Associates, Ms. Krishnan, for recommendation on site plan approval, preliminary site plan approval.
Thank you,
Sarah?
Madam Chair.
Great.
The use has been summarized. The site is located in the C2 district and it's a special land use on which the Planning Commission just acted. With regards to the site, as I previously mentioned, this is an outlot being created using a lot split from the Meyer parcel itself. The applicant has put in an application for a parcel boundary adjustment line or a parcel division. Now it needs to get preliminary approval prior to final site plan approval, and the lot split must be completed before any construction can start. That is to ensure that the site has adequate frontage on Tyler as required under special land use conditions. The proposed building meets all of the setbacks for the C2 district. The maximum permitted building height in this district is 4 stories or 40 feet. This building is only single story, 22 feet and 2 inches. So it meets the ordinance requirements. With regard to access, as you can see on the site plan in front of you, the access is through 2 proposed curb cuts, both of which cut into existing drive aisles on Meyer. So basically the entire circulation of the site is dependent on Meyer's existing circulation drives. So we need to have an easement agreement which graphically includes all of these access drives and provides access to this site in perpetuity. That is a legal document, so it will be recorded with the outlot. So the applicant needs to submit that description to us to make sure that it is worded correctly. With regard to sidewalks, the site has an existing sidewalk along its Tyler Road frontage. Now, the site plan, as you can see, is proposing a small plaza area along the Tyler Road frontage with benches and a sidewalk connection that comes to the front of the Jiffy Lube building. So any pedestrians who drop off their vehicle and intend to just walk down the sidewalk down Belleville Road corridor can easily just go for a walk and come back. So the pedestrian circulation pattern is complete on the site. With regard to parking and loading, all of the proposed spaces are double striped and meet the ordinance standards for dimensions. Based on parking requirements, which says there are 4 service stalls and 5 employees in the largest shift, a minimum of 13 parking spaces are required. The actual outlot itself has got a total of 9 parking spaces and 4 additional spaces are shown on the Meyer parcel. The applicant has stated that they have been granted easements from Meyer to fulfill the total parking count requirement. Now, Meyer does have a surplus of parking, and the shared parking is something we recommend rather than create more impervious surface area. However, that shared parking agreement has to be an irrevocable agreement. Once again, just like the access, it also is a legal document which needs to be recorded with the property, and we would need to see a copy of that. Some of the parking along Meyer, if you would look at the site plan, there are these large islands being created. Some of the spaces are being eliminated in order to ensure that there are no points of conflict while entering and exiting out of the Jiffy Lube site. The site provides one handicap accessible space, which is ADA compliant. A 10-foot by 25-foot loading zone has also been detailed. The loading zone is right next to the dumpster. While it's not ideal, this is a very small site, and the kind of deliveries they typically receive would be the smaller vehicles. But there is no other viable place on the site where you can place that loading space, so it is acceptable as proposed. Because the site is within the B-Rod or the Belleville Road Overlay District, a bike rack is required for every 25 parking spaces. So the site plan does show bike rack on the north side of the building in compliance with the ordinance requirement. Our zoning ordinance has got one of the most extensive landscaping requirements of any community. That requires landscaping along public rights of way, which is along Tyler Road, which is a mix of ornamental trees. It also requires deciduous trees and shrubs. Based upon the ordinance calculation, a total of 4 trees are required along Tyler Road, and they have been provided. The ordinance requires landscaping for the parking lot, depending upon the amount of parking lot, and landscaping has been provided to meet this requirement in the form of a screen hedge from Tyler Road. The ordinance has a requirement where for so much impervious surface area or parking lot, so many square feet or percentage of landscaping must be provided. The applicant complies with this requirement. The loading space is required to be screened. A narrow green belt that is on the west side of the dumpster and the loading space provides this screening and requirement. There is another standard in the ordinance which calls for a green belt buffer that is 10 feet wide with 1 tree every 30 linear feet on all sides of the proposed development. The applicant does comply with this requirement too, along with the required trees. With regard to retention pond, the applicant is proposing to incorporate a bioretention area in the development. This bioretention area is subject to review and approval by the township engineer and by Wayne County since it's within their jurisdiction. The planting plan for this area also needs to be approved by Wayne County, and when approved, needs to be provided to us. The ordinance has specific landscaping requirements for the various districts in addition to all the aforementioned standards. This is for the C2 district, which says for so many pedestrian circulation areas and so much site development, so much square footage of open space needs to be provided. And the applicant has met it through creation of the area on the north side of the building on Tyler Road. Finally, we have the B-Rod landscape requirement standards, which specify the amount of landscaping and shrubbery that needs to be provided. The applicant, for the most part, complies with this. However, a clarification is required that the shrubbery that's being provided around the parking lot will reach a height of at least 3 feet within 12 months of planting, because the intent is to provide screening, and these shrubs need to be a species and a size that will actually reach that height at maturity within 1 year. A tree removal permit is required only if any regulated trees, that is any tree that is 5 inches or larger in caliber, is being removed. The applicant is proposing no such tree removal. Stormwater detention will be reviewed by the township engineer. The applicant has submitted a detailed photometric plan and all of the proposed fixture details. They all meet ordinance standards. With regards to signage, the applicant is proposing 1 monument sign, 1 wall sign, and 6 incidental entry-exit signs. We have reviewed the square footage of all of the proposed signs. The applicant originally submitted a package that was typical of Jiffy Lube with a lot more signage than is currently shown. However, to comply with our ordinance, they kept downsizing till they came to a size that actually met our ordinance standards. The plan also proposes screening around the transformer. We had extensively reviewed the architecture for this building. My apologies, I had skipped a sheet, my apologies. On page number 5, there is architecture and building standards. Our BROD district standards are extensive in terms of what building materials and the percentage of building materials that can be used on the structure itself. The original elevation that was proposed by the applicant was rejected by the township. And since then, the applicant has been very diligent in working with Director Powers and staff in order to come up with an elevation that actually meets the standards that are intended by the BROD district. It went from a building that predominantly had ephes, trivet, and similar materials to an all brick building with those materials being used only as an accent band. The copper canopy elements have been included. Director Power had put up the elevation initially on the screen. It shows an all brick building. The roof heights have been varied in order to provide for some definition to the building. Even though the building is small, we did not want it to have a single straight roof line. Copper canopies are proposed above the door and awning. There is foundation landscaping. The facade along Tyler Road was converted to almost all windows. Initially, it had just one small window. The doors, the garage doors that you see over there were actually redesigned to include those glass panels so that they don't look like industrial warehouse doors. The applicant has literally redesigned the entire building step by step in order to come to a point where they actually meet the ordinance standards. There are a few minor calculation corrections that need to be made for the applicant to demonstrate that they actually meet the strict letter of the ordinance, and that is noted in my review letter at this time. The one concern we did have is the applicant has noted that the brick that they're going to be using is a thin brick veneer. Thin brick veneer is typically not considered as a very durable building material. It's basically a tiny sliver of brick that's on top of another masonry surface. We have recommended the use of high quality materials such as true brick or stone. So that is something the applicant must revise on this project. Based upon our review of the proposal at this time, the applicant, after multiple revisions, has come to a point where we believe the outstanding items can be addressed between preliminary and final site plan. Therefore, it would be our recommendation that the Planning Commission grant preliminary site plan approval to the applicant subject to the 7 conditions that are listed in our review letter dated October 30th of 2020. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much, Ms. Krishnan. Very thorough. I'd like to go right now to the recommendations from Fishbeck, the Township Engineers. Mr. Kamer.
Thank you, Chairperson Thompson. I'm going to be reading from our letter submitted to the Township on October 27th, 2020. At this time, as always, when we talk about preliminary site plan review, I'd like to just remind everybody that we review and examine the plans for feasibility of the engineering aspects of the site design, but do not conduct a full engineering review until engineering plans are submitted. As discussed, the plan is for the construction of a new 3,000 square foot building with the asphalt parking lot as discussed by Ms. Krishnan. And there's a construction of new stormwater improvements, including a bioretention, French drain, pretreatment structures, and underground storage system, construction of a public sanitary sewer system, extension of a public water main, and other various site plan improvements. I will move on to the meat of our letter, which will start with the water main service. The township's GIS records indicate a publicly owned 12-inch cast iron water main running east and west along Tyler on the north side of Tyler, as well as 2 42-inch water mains running east and west along Tyler which are owned by Gliwa. There is also a 8-inch water main loop that runs around the Meyer store building. Originally, the applicant was proposing to tap into this 12-inch water main on the north side of Tyler, but in discussions with the applicant, they have now changed their water main feed to tap into the 8-inch water main running around the Meyer parking lot and connecting into their building via a 2-inch copper water service line. Our comments on the water main design, the applicant must show an easement agreement between property owner of Meyer and for the extension of the water main across private property that will be awarded or signed over to the township as a public water main. And we'd like to just indicate that this is centered on the water main, which includes bends and fittings and hydrants as well. The applicant must submit to the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy for a Act 399 public water supply permit. The applicant is responsible for completing this application, and we will work with the Township Water and Sewer Department to get that finalized and signed over for the proper permitting of the water main. Moving on to the sanitary service. Again, this design has changed slightly since the first time that we met with the applicant. Currently, the GIS records show the closest sanitary sewer is a public 10-inch clay line that runs on the east side of Belleville Road, north and south along Belleville Road. The applicant proposes a privately owned 6-inch sanitary sewer service connecting into a newly proposed 8-inch sanitary sewer running west through the adjacent Meyer gas station parking lot and connecting into the 10-inch sanitary line along Belleville Road. Within our review, we do have some concerns with this alignment, although not to the point that it can't be done, but things that the applicant will need to think about when they get into designing the engineering aspects of this. First and foremost, the minimum size for public sanitary sewer is 10 inches. The applicant must show this on the plans if they intend for the sewer service line running through the Meyer parking lot to be public. If connecting to the existing system with a public main, it must be done at a manhole connection, not a Y connection as they show. The other issue that we'd like to bring up is along that Belleville Road utility corridor, we've had previous projects along this BROD district that have run into unknown utilities during construction. So we'd like to urge the applicant to do as much research and as much existing utility record digging as they can as they propose where they're going to put the manhole and where they're going to connect, because it does become an issue when it gets into construction. Again, like with the water main, an easement agreement between the applicant and the property owner of Meyer for the extension of the proposed sanitary sewer across private property must be provided. Meyer will be required to grant that easement to the township for the public sanitary sewer if that is what is proposed moving forward. The minimum sanitary sewer easement is 20 feet wide, not 12 feet wide as shown in the plans. And again, the applicant will be required to submit for an Eagle Part 41 permit due to this being a public sanitary sewer installation. Again, they are responsible for working with the township to complete the permit application, and the township will submit this permit once all obligations of the application are met and finalized. Moving on to the storm sewer, as Ms. Krishnan mentioned, the applicant is proposing an on-site detention. Township GIS records indicate that there is an 18-inch publicly owned storm sewer that runs on the south side of Tyler Road, essentially right along the property line that is owned by Wayne County, and it conveys storm water eastward down Tyler Road. The applicant proposes containing stormwater runoff in a series of catch basins, storm sewers, in conjunction with a pretreatment system, a French drain, and an underground storage. At this time, again, we don't dive into the calculations too deeply, but in review of them, it does appear that they are meeting township standards at this point. The applicant will submit to or must submit to Wayne County for stormwater approval prior to the township accepting submissions for engineering, or at least we like to see that the applicant has had discussions with Wayne County, because we like to get their plans once initial conversations have started, so we're not reviewing them multiple times. Other than that, there's minor comments about the stormwater system that we will dive deeper into in our engineering review, as well as some of the paving and soil erosion details, which are pretty standard at this point. So based on our review for preliminary site plan approval, we are recommending the Planning Commission grant the Jiffy Lube Multi-Service Center preliminary site plan approval for engineering feasibility, subject to the comments listed in our letter and in accordance with the Township Engineering Standards Manual. If there are any questions, I am happy to answer at this time. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Kamer. Appreciate it. We'll get back to questions and comments in a moment. I just want to note that we do have a review by Fire Inspector Andrew Lenihan. He has 2 comments for the conditional approval. That is that the two-way radio communication enhancement system are required for new construction unless after finished construction, the occupant can prove through a signal test that it is not needed. Also, there's an e-knock box is required. They're both per standard fire requirements. So there's a lot of recommendations and a lot going on a not huge site. So let's hear questions and comments from the commission first, please.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Boynton.
I have a couple questions here. First, for Paul. The drainage that we have, I know we're not getting too far into the engineering, the water and sewer engineering of it just yet, because this is preliminary site plan. But this just came to mind. Now, along Tyler Road going east there, how will this affect the reports of additional flooding along Tyler Road going that way? Or is it too soon to ask that question? If it's too soon to ask it, I understand why, because we're not really getting that far into it. But, you know, is this the time for that question now or not?
No, I think your question is valid. Yes, there have been concerns in the township regarding the county drains that run along Tyler Road up through Morton Taylor and then head to the northeast.
Mm-hmm.
The ultimate goal when a site is developed like this is the reason that they require underground storage is to essentially hold back any of that excess runoff that is created from the impervious pavement and roof systems and anything that changes. So with a properly installed, maintained, and
Okay.
run system, designed system,
Okay.
the excess runoff should be minimal, but it's not a zero.
Okay.
It will increase slightly because you are increasing the runoff from the site, but the
Right.
intention of the system is to minimize that excess runoff.
Okay. Okay.
It's a question that we've all had with the Wayne County drains and when will they clean them and how can we get them to clean them. And it's kind of one of those age-old questions. Now, I will say that the applicants tapping into the Tyler Road system is more beneficial, I will say, than tapping into the Meyer system, which is to the southeast, because we know that there are some potential issues with the Meyer retention or detention pond that is behind the building. So them utilizing their own detention system is a plus for the site.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That's one question. And the other question I had is either for Vidya or for our representative from Jiffy Lube, and that is concerning the brick. Now this question is for you, Vidya. If I heard it correctly, we know veneer brick face is not acceptable because it's not that durable. What I missed was, did he agree, or Mr. Kratz? Yeah. Was it agreed and understood that they're going to have to change over to the more durable brick, or no?
I will ask Mr. Kratz to answer that, because that is a requirement of the ordinance. It's really not an option, a debatable option at this point, because brick veneer is not durable. We require true brick. So Tim, if you could just address that.
Okay, and I have to make myself clear. Yeah, I was asking you whether or not I heard it correctly or not, which is
Yes.
which is what I missed. Okay, so then my question goes to Mr. Kratz. And just to make it plain and simple and cut and dry, are we going to have the better material or no?
Yes, we did agree to the conditions of approval to use modular brick.
Okay, what's
Not thin brick.
okay?
True
Yeah,
brick.
we agreed to the conditions that
Okay.
McKenna has set forth.
All right. Madam Chair, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Commissioner Boynton. Questions or comments from other commissioners?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Jar.
question for Mr. Kratz. This is a 4-bay drive-through unit, or is it an 8-bay Jiffy Lube?
It's a 4-bay, so it would be one direction.
Could you just briefly explain the traffic flow through the Jiffy Lube? Which way will the cars be entering and exiting?
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, would you mind bringing the site plan up? Appreciate that.
Yes, I will. I'm going to share the site plan and zoom in on the circulation aspects right there. So just bear with me 1 second. Thanks.
Thank you, Director.
So the direction to flow through the unit here is from west to east. So if you would enter the site, you'd circulate all the way around. Excuse me, I just said that incorrectly. It's
Yeah, I was
from east to
thinking-
west. I must have my mirror on the screen here.
You
Is
enter from
is the traffic circulation pattern called out on one of the sheets? Maybe I just missed it when I was looking for it.
The site plan actually has pavement arrows. One of the sheets has pavement arrows, which shows you that it's a one-way circulation pattern. They enter on the west side and they exit on the east side. We made them revise the site plan multiple times to ensure that there is no conflict with the Meyer site. So pavement striping will show entry, exit. That's what the directional signage in the assigned packet is for.
And there will be arrows in front of the bays?
Absolutely. The doors will clearly say enter only, exit only, and the pavement will also be striped to show which way the traffic needs to.
Great. I normally that's in the plan. I may have just missed it. I reviewed it electronically this time.
Yeah, it was on one of the sheets, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, great. Question for you, Ms. McKenna. Sorry, Vidya. Uh, Sorry, you get the names on the bottom of the screen and do we have any stacking requirements for a drive-through service like this? Like in a drive-through restaurant, we have stacking requirements for drive-through lines. Do we in
No.
this type of establishment?
No, not for minor vehicle repair. We do not have stacking.
Okay, but because the traffic is flowing to the west, it looks like that side lot should be enough to stack a reasonable number of vehicles waiting for service along the entrance of the doors, correct, in your opinion?
Yes, yes. The fact that they are an outlet to Meyer and there is so much surplus parking, we believe that the site, it's a short-term thing. It's not a long-term body shop where people would leave their vehicles overnight. Like Jim said, it is anywhere from half an hour to 2 hours. So we believe that the flow of vehicles will be constant and will not result in like a whole bunch of vehicles just sitting there for a long.
Last question on the parking and traffic. Are the driveways, they are 2 cars wide with an entrance on one side, exit on the other? Okay. Yeah, that's great. I would just, as a comment, I think the rendering of the building looks very nice. I like those roof lines. I think that's going to fit in very well with our overlay district, Mr. Katz. Thanks for taking the extra effort to make it look good. And I think it will. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Jar. Anything else? Anyone?
Through the chair,
Sure, Commissioner Atchison.
Mr. Kratz, my question is, with the drive-through, do you have hoists lifting up the vehicles for the oil change? Or is it a pit building?
It's a pit. So there is a basement that's half the width of that bay area that they can serve it from a pit standpoint. And then the other 2 location. So actually, Dan, if you'd be able to pull up the site plan one more time, of the 4 bays, the 2 closest to the customer area, those are a pit, and those are really intended for the fastest moving quick service lube. So the 2 bays on the north side, and then the 2 bays on the south side actually have the ability to raise the car up, and if that's tires or other things, other services they can offer. One added point to the circulation and stacking, the general execution of their work here is that bays 1 and 2 will see the most traffic because it will be quicker flow traffic, will be in and out. So really when they lay out a site and look at it, and this is part of their national standard, they want to make sure that there's enough ability to stack a car at each of those locations and then have someone drive up behind them. So in this case, which having a full 2-way drive lane on the far east side and more than enough space to stack a car, you see the dimension of 53 feet, 53.8 feet. It allows them to fully execute the site layout and the circulation the way that they would like to on a site like this.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kreutz. Anything else, Commissioner Atchison?
Nope. I think I'm good. I just am trying to I saw that you're saying that there's going to be 5 employees there at any given time.
That would be the peak employees. So they'll staff accordingly, kind of their high and low times. But typically 5 is the peak.
Are you open on Sunday?
So programmatically, they would allow to be open 7 days a week, and it would be from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. That would be their standard hours. And then as they start to operate in that circumstance, they may adjust those based on when they're receiving their traffic.
That is it. Welcome. Well, I guess I should say if you abide by all of our requirements, welcome.
Thank you.
Our community needs your services. Trust me, I know.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioners, questions or comments? Anyone in the audience?
There are no virtual hands or any comments at the moment.
Great, thank you. All right, if there's nothing else to discuss at this juncture since we're at preliminary. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Boynton,
I move that we grant preliminary site plan approval to Jiffy Lube minor vehicle service with all of the necessary requirements and standards, and along with recommendations from the McKenna letter dated April 30th of 2020, and also with all of the comments listed in the Fishbeck letter dated October 27th of 2020 regarding water main service, sanitary sewer service, storm sewer, paving and grading, and soil erosion. And also with the letter from our Van Buren Township Fire Department dated October 28th of 2020 from Andrew Lenahan, our fire inspector. And I believe that is everything. Yes.
great. Motion, Commissioner Boynton, support?
Support.
Commissioner Bud. Any discussion on the motion?
Through the chair, Carol, that wasn't me. I think it was Joan that seconded that.
It was.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I'll change that to support Commissioner Franzoy. We'll get it right in the minutes.
Madam Chair, point of order. My audio cut out. What was the date on the McKenna letter in the motion, Commissioner Boynton?
October 30th.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're ready. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Jeff Char,
Yes.
Donald Boynton,
Yes.
Brian Kelly,
Yes.
Medina Atchison,
Yes.
Sherry Budd,
Yes.
Joan Franzoy,
Yes.
Carol Thompson.
Yes. So that's a preliminary approval and a special land use going forward to Township Board. Mr. Kurtz, we look forward to seeing you back after you are ready for a final. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We are to item 3 on tonight's agenda. This is a resolution of adoption for the Van Buren Township 2020 Master Plan Update. The Charter Township of Van Buren has completed a draft update to its master plan consistent with the provisions of the Michigan Public Act 33 of 2008 as amended, the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, following a public hearing to hear comments regarding the draft of the full update of the master plan. The Planning Commission will pass a formal resolution of adoption of the Van Buren Township Master Plan before the Township Board of Trustees considers a resolution to adopt the master plan. So, want to tell us exactly what we need to accomplish with this tonight, Director Power?
Yes, thank you, Chair Thompson, for giving me the opportunity. We've talked about the Van Buren Township 2020 Master Plan through and through. And procedurally, there are just certain things that are required to get a plan, master plan for a community adopted. We had an important step at the last meeting, which was the public hearing to take comments on the master plan. And after the public hearing, the Michigan Planning Enabling Act of 2008 also requires that there's a resolution by the Planning Commission. So in discussing this more in depth with our master plan consultant, we wanted to make sure he could get you this draft distribution memorandum with an actual resolution that you can pass to forward this to the Board of Trustees for their adoption via resolution. Not every community has their board or city council adopt the master plan. Sometimes the Planning Commission is the final body that does that. In the township, in Van Buren Township, our Board of Trustees has the final resolution of adoption. So what you're going to have is two resolutions of adoption. One is first by you, the Planning Commissioners, and then by the Township Board of Trustees. So here's the resolution that you have in front of you. And you can refer to it with a simple motion, as would happen in a board meeting. But this resolution, as presented in your revised packet and is also on the screen, refers to the requirements of the Planning Enabling Act, the contents of the plan, including maps and text, the opportunities for public participation in the planning process, the recommendations for distribution by the Planning Commission and Board, respectively, on July 6th and July 21st, the public hearing on October 28th, and the consideration of public comments. There's also a reference in this resolution to the minor changes that are made as part of making an adoption copy of the plan, which include general updates to the text for typos, grammar, and polish of written content, stylistic updates to the future land use map, and acknowledgements and a table of contents. So with a simple motion, if you are comfortable with this resolution, this will formalize what you effectively did at your last meeting, which is to recommend to the board and recommend adoption of the plan.
Great. Thanks, Director Powers. Any questions or discussion on the resolution from planning commissioners? Anyone? Anyone in the audience? Seems straightforward. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Boynton, support.
Support.
Commissioner Atchison. Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Then a roll call vote, please.
Brian Kelly,
Yes.
Medina Atchison,
Yes.
Sherry Budd,
Yes.
Donald Boynton,
Yes.
Jeff Jar,
Yes.
Joan Franzoy,
Yes.
Carol Thompson.
Yes. Thank you. So this resolution then now goes forward to the Township Board. We are to general discussion in tonight's agenda. Staff, I'll ask for anything for general discussion.
Madam Chair, I might have completely misheard this, but I thought at the beginning of the meeting, Director Power said this is our last meeting for the year. Maybe I misheard it. We do have a meeting in December. I don't know whether it was supposed to be last meeting before Thanksgiving, but I thought I heard it as saying last meeting before the year, so for the year. So we do have a meeting in December,
Okay.
just to clarify.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Vidya.
I might have heard it wrong, but for some reason I thought that's what I heard.
To be honest, I might have said it wrong. So
No.
yeah, that is true. So it's just the last meeting before that becomes a little irregular in the holiday season, and I just wanted to make sure you all were comfortable. You weren't going to have to do a planning commission meeting the night before Thanksgiving. So it's our last meeting before December. We will have one other meeting in December that's scheduled, because the second meeting in December is also right before the Christmas holiday. So this meeting in December is looking to be a fairly full agenda. There look to be a couple of potential preliminary site plans and a couple of potential final site plan reviews. And we would also want to do the election of officers at that time. We have some changes that are coming in 2021, sort of bittersweet in terms of Commissioner Boynton, but we will be going over those changes and kind of doing the end of the year routine on December 9th. So with that said, we will see you in December. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me. And otherwise, have a safe Thanksgiving. Safe and happy Thanksgiving.
Great. Thanks so much. Thanks for all the good work to our wonderful staff and consultants. And right, happy Veterans Day. How much we honor all those veterans who have served today. And because we won't get to see each other before Thanksgiving, I hope everyone has a safe and happy Thanksgiving as well.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Is there a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Commissioner Boynton.
Support.
Or Commissioner Jar. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.